Back at Fredricton Regionals, we got Michael. What'd you play? How'd you do today?
I played Snake Eyes Fire King. I got 6th place today. I did X11. Yeah.
Awesome. Any shout-outs you want to give before we get started?
Shout out to the Bathurst boys, Jordan Couture, Alex Poupard. They helped me out a lot with the deck today. Michelle Haché and Alexander Roussel. They all helped me out with testing. They're all pretty good. So yeah.
Let's jump into the profile.
So for Snake Eye package, it was just pretty standard. 1 Oak, 1 Poplar, 1 Ash. These cards being at 1 was really harder on the grind game than I expected them to be. Very often where I wanted to use the original Simple Spoils effect engraved, but all 3 of my names were already engraved, so it just kind of didn't help a lot. But whatever, it's still fine. Like for game 1, it doesn't really weaken the board. It's just for the grind game, but it was fine. 3 Black Witch.
Do you mind turning them just the other way?
Yep.
Cool.
3 Black Witch, just typical, a good starter. The 1 Flamberge, 1's enough. I would never play 2. Yeah, I drew this card way too often, so I would never dare play a 2nd one. 1 Original. This is the bridge between the Snake Eyes and the Fire King engine, so obviously this card's amazing. Every time I drew it, like it just went off. It was great. 3 Bonfire, your extra copies of Snake Eyes Ash, so that's standard. 3 Wanted, typical. For the Fire King lineup, 1 Ponix, 1 was fine. I wouldn't play anymore. I want to search it. I don't necessarily want to see it in my hand too often, so just the 1 that was fine.
That makes sense, yeah.
I played Barong. This card was weird. I never drew it, so it never really bricked, but at the same time, like, I only used it in play like once, so it was just kind of in the deck. Like, it never really came up, it never got in the way, so I probably test with this a little bit more before I decide if I cut it or not. But in theory, it was supposed to be fine, but it just didn't do anything today, but it didn't really clock me anyways. Arvada, best card in the deck in my opinion. The fact that the Monster Reborn and the Monster Negate came up so often, this card's amazing. Still wouldn't bump it up to 2 because 1's more than enough. You can just bring it back with Kieran over and over. This also beats Nibiru, which is amazing for this deck, especially we don't have Apple anymore. So this card's amazing. This is my 5th summon, usually gets me here, so I can get there before I get Nibiru, so this is good. 1 Garunix. I played 3 Kieran. Some people play 2 of this card. I love 3 because for the grind game, like, you just want to continuously use Garunix to pitch your Kieran, special bag the Arvada, and then pop a card so you still have a monster negate. So 3 Kieran was really good today. I wouldn't swap that at all. 1 Sanctuary, 1 Fire King Island, typical for just the Fire King place. I played the Azaroon with the Sula Hat Rabbit. I never got this off once today. I was very undecided between playing the Fiendsmith engine or playing the Rabbit engine. I chose to go with this. I kind of regret it because this never did anything for me today, so I wouldn't mind cutting it at all. 1-for-1 consistency card. I played 1 Magnemut, 1 Druisworm in the main. The 2 times I actually saw these cards, they worked out pretty good, but other than that, I just never drew them, so they were just really irrelevant. 3 Nib. I never nibbed anybody once today. Going second, I never drew it, and if I did draw it, it was for turn, so and I'd either draw it going first, so this was just terrible for me today. Like, in practice, it should be a good card, but I just never drew it when I needed it, so just kind of bricked for me. 1 Call By, just protect the plays. Hand Traps, 3 Imperm, 3 Ash. Can't cut those, just standard. I chose to main deck Droll. There's a lot of Fiendsmith guys running around, so I figured that Droll would kind of punish the Engraver effect. It's also good for Yubble, and yeah. I also didn't draw this too much today, so it was kind of lackluster, but in theory it's a good card. It just, again, never saw it, so it never came. That's it for main deck, 40 cards. For the extra deck, Ambler Whale. This card was really good for me today. My play was usually to pop the Ambler Whale with the Arvada, then Ambler Whale would get me IP, then IP would just go into SP and just combo off from there. So this was really good. As an inboard piece, I like it. Princess, self-explanatory. I played the 2 Charmers, Dark and Hida, because we play Black Witch and I play Anima, so this kind of came up a few times as well. Yeah, so I wouldn't cut these, obviously, they're just really good cards. I played the access code and Celine. This came up very often for me today. I won maybe 4 or 5 games off of access code and off Celine. This was a last minute decision to put her in, and I don't regret it at all. It really came in good. Do little Chimera. You can make cute little plays with the Fire King cards to just add back to Kieran when it's destroyed, and then it also triggers Garunix in the grave. So it's a good card to make. Raging Phoenix and Zealantis. I did this OTK like 4 times today. It's still good. Like if you want to just push for damage and get the kill right away, it's amazing. I played one of the rank 8s. In testing, it came up a few times, so I kind of liked it and I wanted to keep it in, but it never came up once today. Like I couldn't get Garunix and Kieran on board with the fields with the Sanctuary, so I just never summoned it. But in theory, it was a cute card. IP, SP, just standard combo cards, just too good to cut. I played the Anima as the Link 1. It was pretty good today just because it gave me access to Dark when I needed it, and linking off the Poplar sometimes came up too, so that's just a good card. And last 2 cards, Nightmare Phoenix and Siluhat. Like I said, Siluhat just never came through for me today, so I would probably not play this going forward. I find it's a really good card, but for me personally, it just didn't perform today. So
were you summoning it and it was getting stopped, or were you just finding yourself not summoning it?
I was summoning it, but just like I was playing against Memento was one of the boards I made this against when I didn't know it was Memento, and I was like, oh well, this is just a dead card now because all their effects don't get stopped by Azaroon, and they don't. And they just never went through. But I really like this card. It just didn't do anything for me today, so I'm kind of just a bit salty. I just was a little bit salty about it. Onto the side deck, Skill Drain and Anti-Spell. Anti-Spell won me a game against yugioh. A really good card when you draw it. I put Skill Drain in a few times, but I never drew it, so I still like it. It's a good card. You can turn it off with your Black Witch, so I still like it a lot. 2 Cosmic, that's mainly for Runic players. I played against 2 Runic today and I sided it in. It did put in work, so I wouldn't cut it. Might consider playing a 3rd one too for other decks, but for now 2 is fine. 2 Evenlies. The only time I put this in and I actually got to them, I drew both of them, and my opponent had the double Solemn Judgment set, so both of them just got stopped. So I was like, wow, I'm not playing these cards.
Oh, you played 3.
Yeah, but anyways, it's evenly. Like for regionals here, there's a lot of decks that can still like just win against, so I wouldn't cut it, but it's still like, for me today, it just didn't perform. Duster, Lightning Storm, just for back row decks in case there's Runic Stun or anything like that. Like it's just generic good board breakers. I chose to play 2 Dark Hole in my side deck. The logic for this was, for me, it kind of gives me advantages because even if I do blow up my own board, my Garunix will still pop into grave and I'll just like get more cards anyways. And also there's a few Mimighoul players that I wanted to play this against, because if they give me a monster, I can just Dark Hole and then that monster dies and their board dies as well. So it's just like a cute little tech that I like, but I never played any Mimighoul today, so I just end up not siding this in at all.
Watch the Mimighoul.
Yeah, but in theory I like this card against them. Triple Phantasme. I sided this in very often. I never drew it once. So it just, even siding in 3 copies, it was just a dead card for me. Like I never saw it, but I really like this card. It just didn't pan out today because I didn't see it at all. And 2 Dark Ruler, just good card against Yubel. They make very big boards, so just kind of just helps being able to play. And that's it for the deck.
Any major changes you'd make? You mentioned about Barong, maybe adding some Fiendsmith. Any?
Pretty much the biggest change I would make is I would cut the Azaroon and probably the Bestials and put the Fiendsmith cards instead, because like I said, Bestials, like they're good cards, but I probably just side them at this point because main deck I just didn't see them, so this just could have been a Fiendsmith engine instead, so I could have made Caesar. I feel like honestly Caesar would have been more better in my situations than Azaroon. So I probably just cut these 3, put in Gravers, and yeah, that's probably the only thing. The deck performed really well. It's a very fun deck to play, and yeah, that's
all right. Well, thank you so much for the deck profile, Michael, and congratulations on your top.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.